Hello and welcome to the penultimate episode. And this is sort of a special episode of Beyond the Tardis, which is a brand new podcast which for this year has been celebrating 60 years of the world's longest running sci-fi show in all of time and space. Doctor Who, if you weren't aware by the picture. Joining me this time on Adventure Through Space and Time to talk about all things Doctor Who is myself. Because I thought, as a massive lifelong Doctor Who fan, it'd only be right and correct to do an episode where I talked about my memories, what I've enjoyed, my experiences at the special attractions and things like that. So it's not going to be on a particular Doctor as much. I might talk about my favourite Doctor. It's going to be all-round 60-year adventure, really. So I'll be going from the junkyard in Shoreditch right the way through to modern day London, from William Hartnell right the way through to David Tennant as 14th Doctor, and I might even touch upon Ncuti Gatwa's 15th as well. So I'm going to be asking these questions myself. I'll be adding some extra things in as well. So the first question is, what is my earliest memory of Doctor Who? Wow. I was born in the 90s, so I grew up during the wilderness years, which wasn't a fun time for Doctor Who fans. There was no Doctor Who on TV apart from the TV movie in 1996, which didn't go down too well. There's no regular series, effectively being cancelled and put on an indefinite hiatus by the lovely BBC. So my earliest memory was actually watching Peter Cushing's The Daleks and A Dalek Invasion of Earth movies. Now, for those that don't know, they made, during the 60s, late 60s, coloured movies of two of the most popular Doctor Who stories at the time, which were The Daleks and Dalek Invasion of Earth. Watched these on video with my dad. I remember being amazed by it and sort of wanted to know more about this mysterious Doctor. Now, it is canon now, although not part of the Doctor, but in the main Doctor Who series, they do talk about the movies. But in the films, it was a mysterious professor called Doctor Who, joined by his niece Susan, and Barbara and Ian. Barbara. Louise was his niece in Invasion of Earth. I'm getting a bit confused. But yeah, saying something. So he built the time relative dimension in space, or Tardis, and so it follows the storylines pretty much to the latter, apart from obviously making Doctor human and adding an extra character. But yeah, I'm just amazed by the Daleks. I remember especially Invasion of Earth, the movie. It scared me because obviously 2150, when I watched it, wasn't that far off. But just seeing like the country decimated, these like big metal aliens exterminating humans, everyone all worried, sort of in lockdown. It was really terrifying. But it sort of intrigued me more. So I was like speaking to my dad about it, and my mum. They grew up in the 60s and sort of watched the show. It's been my family since all my life, really. So then I remember my auntie actually had some good old videos as well. Can't remember, she had Vengeance of Varos, remembers the Daleks. What was it? Invasion of Cybermen, I think. Some other videos as well. And yeah, I just learned more. So I remember the one that stood out to me, which still does to this day, was I watched Out of Secrets. I was only a child, but it's fine because it wasn't that readily available as it is now, and videos were expensive. Was Remembrance of the Daleks with Sylvester McCoy and Ace. Gone to 1963 London. Two warring factions, not to spoil it, of Daleks, the Imperial and the Renegade Daleks, which was also, as a fan, just seeing two different like teams, sort of factions of Daleks was just mind-blowing, like fighting each other with the Doctor trying to, and Davros as well. I learned about Davros for the first time in that story. There wasn't the internet readily available then, so I couldn't really Google it and find out more. but it was just amazing just watching that story. Sylvester McCoy, brilliant Doctor in my opinion. Seeing the special weapons diet for the first time was brilliant. Seeing the task force, I can't remember what they're called, special force, I don't know. They weren't unit, but it was sort of like a de facto unit in that story. And also, I suppose in timeline, the unit weren't really set up then. But I loved it. Ace was brilliant, plucky companion. And I think that definitely made me more hooked on Doctor Who. And still, I remember playing in the playground like with other friends who like watching old stories as well, had videos too. Like pretend we were Daleks and the Doctor. Used to do it outside of school as well. So it was amazing. Now, I admit, didn't know the existence of Target novels back then, or Virgin books, or anything like the expanded universe. I just knew the TV show at the time, or Doctor Who magazine. Didn't know that for a while yet. I remember also still the Wilderness years when DVDs first came to light, when they started releasing classic stories on DVDs. Watching the original Invasion of Earth. Now, that was a lot scarier than the original Peter Cushing, well, not the original, but the Peter Cushing movies. Black and white, seeing Daleks in black and white, always scary. There's some extra storylines like a Slither, the Black Dalek, the Supreme, the Robo Men as well. They're really scary, just scary, monotonous, just seeing them. And the Mines, Mines in Bedford. It was a really scary story, but I still remember it to this day. But I think that was the story that got me definitely hooked on Doctor Who. So let's fast forward a bit. 2005, a trailer. Remember it well, with a familiar sounding theme tune. A blonde companion and a northern doctor, played by Christopher Eccleston. I remember running down the hallway, Christopher Eccleston's monologue and Rose Billy Piper speech, and I was so excited that BBC were bringing Doctor Who back after all these years. The first time, like in my childhood, in my life, Doctor Who was coming back full time. It's amazing, and I counting down the days. Getting Doctor Who magazine. That's when I first got started with Doctor Who magazine as well. It was absolutely amazing, and sitting down like with my mum and my brother watching it was just out of this world, literally. But it was so much fun, especially Rose as well. Seen the Autons for the first time because I hadn't seen the Autons before. Since then, I've gone back and watched other Autons stories. I think they're a brilliant villain. And then I like the way that it wasn't a reboot; it was a continuation. And the explanation for the Wilderness years was that he'd been fighting in the Time War. Fair enough. This is a serious war between him and the Daleks, which we learned later on throughout the story. Obviously, Dalek, brilliant story as well, with one lone Dalek, really emotional as well. I felt Christopher Eccleston's series was a really emotional series. Seeing him come to process and grieve like the Time War, because he hasn't really had time. Always about time. Which I thought was absolutely fantastic, literally. But yeah, and then seeing part of the ways Bad Wolf. I love the way that Russell and the team interwove Bad Wolf throughout the stories, little Easter eggs, which he did later on throughout his tenure, which was absolutely brilliant. And coming with Daleks from one single Dalek, the last Dalek in existence, supposedly, to the game station, Satellite 5. Is amazing. Seeing the throwbacks to current popular TV shows, Big Brother, Ground Force, Weakest Link. It was just chef's kiss. Absolutely perfect. I loved it. And then at Christmas, was it that year? I'm going to just say that year. We've seen the first. I remember that was I think that was probably the first regeneration. I knew about regeneration, first proper regeneration scene when Christopher Eccleston regenerated into this currently unknown Scottish actor, David Tennant. Don't know what became of him. Apparently, he's coming back for a guest spot in 60th anniversary. But it was amazing. It was just, absolutely brilliant. I realised I've gone on a tangent. This is only the first question that I think I've answered a couple. So I'll hold that thought. So the next question I'm going to ask is, let's cast your mind back. no, I've asked that. What did I think of the Doctor's development during their eras? So cast your mind back. William Hartnell absolutely was this like rumpy grandfather figure who warmed up towards Barbara and Ian and his other companions throughout his tenure. I think it was nice that he's slowly letting people in, realizing he's not alone. Obviously, he wasn't alone at the time with Susan, but I think Susan's departure, the first companion departure, really affected him because it's his granddaughter. I think it was brilliant at seeing him go through the Doctor itself as a character, going from William Hartnell to Patrick Troughton. Patrick Troughton's full of life, very warm, very bubbly, very adventurous. Then he unfortunately regenerated when the Time Lords force regenerated him. Moving on to John Pertwee, exiled. His TARDIS wouldn't work, had to do, obviously for logistical and budget reasons, had to do more stories on Earth. But it was a very dandy light figure, very debonair with his costume. It was like a loving gentleman. It's the only way I can think of describing him at the moment. But very flouncy, but his facial expressions were absolutely brilliant. Then let's move on to the teeth and curls. Tom Baker himself. Introduction of K9. Continuing adventure with Sarah Jane started with John Pertwee. He was sort of, although he was very fun and can be sarcastic at times, but also he had very emotional moments, like with Genesis of Daleks, where he had to decide the fate of the Daleks. That was really emotional. He could choose whether to kill a whole race off or just pause and hope that Daleks avert their ultimate, path in life. Obviously, met Davros for the first time. Meeting the creator must have been hard for the Doctor to process, and knowing that this person created the Daleks has caused so much hurt and pain throughout time and space. Then he regenerates again. Obviously, I'm only touching upon briefly because I only have a finite recording time. But then move on to Peter Davison, all cricket, very, very British Doctor with Turlough, Tegan, Nissa. It's a different kind of Doctor. I've seen all the available episodes. It was nice, but he felt like he had a heavy burden on him compared to the other Doctors. But he just wanted to make his way throughout the universe and didn't want to hurt him, which is correct. He had some good stories, especially like with the anniversary special as well, the Five Doctors. And Pete Davidson is a brilliant actor, but it did feel like to me that he had a heavy burden. Like he didn't have such a bubbly and quirky personality like some of the actors, like Tom Baker before him, Patrick Troughton. Colin Baker. Now, Colin Baker was definitely, again, Colin Baker, lovely man. I'm not the biggest fan of his Doctor, because I'm not a fan of the brash, sort of rude Doctor, although that did die down towards like the Time Lord and when he regenerated. Now, he had some good stories. Again, Child Time Lord, brilliant storyline, longest storyline they've ever done, but I just wasn't a fan of him being rude to his companions. He was very brash. He did show care inside towards the end, but majoritively, it was a very brash, rude Doctor. Yeah. I mean, he had his costume is probably one of the most iconic with the multicolour rainbow Doctor, which is brilliant. Sylvester McCoy next, one of my favourites. I'm allowed to have favourites. Am I allowed to have favourites? I'm going to have favourites. Again, brilliant, mysterious professor. Very, very... had some really good emotional scenes, but very quirky, very fun, very energetic monologues as well. Especially, I'll never forget, like, using rice pudding in an argument against Davros in Remembrance of the Daleks. Absolutely amazing. Ace, brilliant. Love the Happiness Patrol as well. Such a weird, random story, but brilliant. And also the Rani stories too. When we're going to go on to Paul McGann. Now, TV movie, not my favourite one. I can see what they're trying to do. Don't think it was well executed, probably because of the influence with Fox. But Paul McGann is a good Doctor. Listen to his audio stories in Big Finish. I can't recommend enough. Dark Eyes, absolutely amazing. One of my favourite storylines on Big Finish. But Big Finish universe has done so much for the Eighth Doctor. Can't recommend it enough. Also, the Dalek stories is amazing, and with the Master too. I'm glad he came back in Night of the Doctor. Glad he came back out of the Doctor. Do I think he deserves the full series? I think he's had loads. He's the longest serving Doctor technically, and yes, I'd like to see him have a proper solo story on screen. Controversially, potentially, I don't think he needs a full series on screen. I think there's enough content with the Eighth Doctor on Big Finish that it doesn't justify it. I mean, yeah, but if we can get Big Finish stories onto screen, the more the merrier, because we make it more accessible. Because I know Big Finish is expensive. I wish they did a subscription model similar to not a Kindle, similar to Amazon Audible. So if we can get Big Finish stories on screen with their respective Doctor, that'd be brilliant. Sorry. Which we then go on to the War Doctor. Again, John Hurt, amazing actor, did a brilliant job with Day of the Doctor, done some amazing stories, and we lost him too soon. But if you can, listen to his stories on Big Finish, because the War Doctor stories are brilliant, and it properly makes it emotional with what he had to deal with in the Time War. To which we then go on to Christopher Eccleston, which I have briefly turned up. So, we've done Tennant. Let's go David Tennant. David Tennant is my favourite Doctor. David Tennant, amazing actor. His stories were brilliant. He was fun, quirky, brought some new qualities like the romance with Rose, had some sad, very emotional stories as well. Doomsday, trying to get over Rose, and obviously Donna, End of Time, not End of Time, Donna's leaving story was so emotional. His storyline with the Master in the End of Time, Part 1 and Part 2. I know they're coming back, so it'll be interesting, and I can't wait for the 60th anniversary to see what they're going to do with the 14th Doctor, 14th, not 10th, and Donna's relationship, and see how they wrap up that story. I don't think it's going to be a happy ending. I don't think David Tennant's 14th Doctor is going to have a happy ending. I think it's going to be emotional. It's probably going to be the last time we see David Tennant on screen as the Doctor. Again, it always stay with me. I don't want to go. And I know he said it and other doctors said it in other medium, but it was just brilliant. It's the one I remember the most. I loved his stories, his companions. He brought something new to the Doctor that we've never seen before and still really haven't seen again. I'm glad he's doing Big Finish. It's brilliant because he is a fantastic Doctor. I think he left at the right time, and I'm glad he's come back twice. In the 60th, I think it's going to be brilliant seeing him play a different version of the Doctor. I think the 14th is not going to be like 10s at all. I hope, and I'm going to speculate this later, I hope they bring in other Doctors as well to give them some fair screen time. Because David's already done the 50th. I think it'd be fair to give Christopher Eccleston, Peter Capaldi, Jodie, although it might be too soon for Jodie. Obviously, Matt Smith as well. Love to see more classic Doctors, but then they came back in the Power of the Doctor, so I think more cameos by classic Doctors would be a bit ruined because they've already just recently done it. I think, although it's special enough for classic Doctors to be an anniversary special, they brought them back. Chris Chibnall brought them back in the Power of the Doctor, so it makes me think that 60th anniversary is going to be more. If we see multi-Doctors, which I think we will, I think it's going to be more classic Doctors, New Who Doctors and New Who companions. Matt Smith, loved his era, such a crazy thing. Loved the reveal of River Song and Melody Pond. I loved that Amy and Romy, absolutely brilliant companions. Love the fact we got a couple in the TARDIS. So sad with their Angels of Manhattan. That storyline's really emotional. Seeing him get angry with Nightmare and Silver and the Doctor's wife. That was really interesting to see. Especially A Good Man Goes to War. Again, another emotional story. Matt Smith did emotional really well. Day of the Doctor, can't think of any other Doctor I'd like to be the current Doctor at the time of doing an anniversary special, because he did it so well, and you could see, and playing off against David and John Hurt, beautiful. Yeah, he was absolutely amazing. Loved his costume. He's got one of the most unique sonic screwdrivers as well. Loved bow ties. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. His last regeneration speech is one that's going to stay me. I always remember when the Doctor was me. Absolutely amazing. Loved it. Peter Capaldi. Peter Capaldi, number 12, amazing actor. I wasn't a fan of his Doctor. Again, for the same reason with Colin Baker, he seemed very rude to start with, but then towards the end of his tenure as a Doctor, he seemed like very open and opened up, very warm. I know he'd probably mean for the right, I don't want to say right reasons, but yeah, I think he got better towards the end. Twice Upon a Time, one of my favourite Capaldi stories, and the one with Bill. Love Bill. Hope Bill comes back in the anniversary. She needed more time to. She was a brilliant companion. Needs more airtime. Love Clara as well. Jenna Coleman was brilliant. But yeah, Peter Capaldi, amazing actor. I'm not a fan of angry doctors. If I'm honest, that's my personal opinion. I know people love Peter Capaldi, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's what is so brilliant about a show like Doctor Who, is that we have so many different fans, so many different doctors for people to be a fan of. Which brings me on to Jodie Whittaker, number 13. Jodie, brilliant actor, lovely, lovely human being. Yes, there was some bad writing. Loved Yaz, loved God, I've forgotten his name. Bradley Walsh. Graham, loved Graham. I liked Ryan. I'm glad they had Dispatch on screen. I think, though, that they should have done more with that because it only popped up a couple of times and they forgot about it. Jodie had some brilliant stories, but past Series 11, I think it was Series 11, yes, I get they wanted to do new, put their own mark of it, but you can't just disregard 60 years of history. Timeless Child, going to touch upon that. I'm glad they were confident enough to try it. Loved what they did with the Future Doctor with Joe Martin. Again, I liked what they did. They're trying to say there was more Doctors before William Hartnell. Do I wish they went about in a different way? Yes. Would I have liked to see them explore the early years of the Doctor? Yeah. Sacha Dhawan, amazing master, absolutely fantastic. He is everything. He gave me very John Sim and Roger Delgado vibes at the same time, which was brilliant. I'm not 100% a massive fan of Timeless Child. I'm a massive fan of Jodie's Doctor, but it's okay. It's okay not to like certain storylines and certain stories, because that's what we can't all like everything, and they're the same. But yeah, I'm a massive fan of the companions, massive fan of Power of the Doctor. That was a brilliant storyline to celebrate the BBC's 100th anniversary. Bringing back classic Doctors and classic companions mixed in with Unit was just a perfect story, and I think that was nice to have it as Jodie's regeneration story. Again, massive fan that they brought in a female Doctor. With her storyline with Jazz, that did so many people. That was perfect. They definitely did not deserve any backlash because they brought in a female Doctor. The Doctor is the Doctor. The Doctor is genderless. The Doctor, yes, has stereotypically been portrayed by male actors, but the character can be male or female. End of. Missy, got about Missy during Matt Smith's era and Peter Capaldi's. Missy was the testing ground. Missy was amazing. Michelle Gomez was fantastic as Missy, a crazy incarnation who got her own series and comics on Big Finish and in comic form. We need more braveness, which I think Russell will bring, especially with Shooty as well. That's time we go. And then 14th Doctor, Neil Patrick Harris, David Tennant coming back as the 14th. Neil Patrick has Toymaker, Celestial Toymaker, brilliant. Unit back, Donna back, all brilliant. Do I think Master should return? Yes. Do I think Bill should return? Yes. I think it needs to give more opportunities to other companions to come back, which I think it could do. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to the 60th. Love the show. Will always be a fan of the show. My best friend I met not through the love of the show. That's how we started talking to each other. Started cosplaying as well, because I'm not just saying this is Ninth Doctor cosplay. So let's answer another question. So why do I have a powerful connection with the Doctor in particular? Because Doctor Who in particular, I'm going to slightly change it. Doctor Who in particular is a brilliant show. It allows me to escape. I've got autonomous dyspraxia. It allows me to escape everyday life. It allows me to get an insight into all these amazing wacky adventures. It makes you feel so included in the community as a whole. But with the show, it's just full of. It's not always happy. It's not always full of love, happiness, and rainbows. But it's just brilliant. There's no other show like it. It's never going to be any show like that, and it's loved worldwide. Why do you think the Whovian community are so close? I think pockets of the Whovian community are so close. I know I wrote these questions, but pockets are. There are some controversial members of the Whovian community who, and especially people who had a go during Jodie's era, going against Jodie's version. Yeah, they're saying, "Oh, the Doctor should be a man." No, the Doctor shouldn't be a man, and especially having a go like that. That is not welcome in the Whovian community. It's okay not to like storylines. Okay, not to like certain writing styles. It's okay not to like certain Doctors. But it's never okay to attack someone, saying that you basically Doctors should be a certain way. Shouldn't. Doctor can be anything they like. What are your, I've said the highlights of me. What is my favourite story and why? That's a very tough one. Day of the Doctor, can we watch a whole over again? And for the new Who, classic Doctor Who remembers the Daleks, just a brilliant, brilliant story. I love an unearthly child. You can't beat the original. Companions, there's been some good companion. What do you think of the Doctor's companions? Do you have a favourite? And what do you think of their development? So I've got a cough. Certain companions have better development than others. I love Barbara Ning, Ian's development, because they came to school teachers, just looking after a student, went on all these adventures and decided they wanted to go back. Fair enough. They had their adventures. They saw what was out there. They were fulfilled. And then I'm pretty sure in canon that they got married. Ian, obviously, in the companion support group who saw Empower the Doctor. I love that idea. Sarah Jane, I love that she started off as a reporter, continued after she left the Doctor investigating aliens. That was absolutely amazing. And obviously now with the Bannerman Road Gang, they're sort of being featured more in Rani Chandra Takes on the World, especially with the new series. Luke's back in the series, so it's like the old times. Ace as well is brilliant as well. I love the out of canon stuff. So when they've left the show and then they write stuff for the companions, like Ace starting her own charity, Charitable Earth, sort of then obviously investigated aliens. What do I think of the villains? I love the Autons. I think every day, when something that we see every day can be used as a Doctor Who villain, like plastic shop window dummies, statues with weeping angels. Again, Daleks, especially with the rise of AI, Daleks are possible, like with drones and things. Master as well. Like for every good person, there's a negative person. What other villains do I like? Cybermen. Again, it's possible. It is scarily possible that they could happen. Some person might decide, you know what, let's put on life, let's take out emotions and replace flesh with metal. It's possible. They're the scary villains for me. Like, I know there's weird and wonderful aliens, but the ones where you can see are possible and that are based on everyday things are the scariest to me. If you could travel in the TARDIS, what time period would you go to, or planet or event, and why? I don't know. I'd love to go to the future, see how I turn out, but then I think that would spoil my life for me, and then my life might be dictated by what I see. Love the Victorian era. Let's see my family who died before I was born. I think that could be quite nice, just because it's quite emotional. If you could travel in TARDIS, if you could have any, sorry, I'm reading these questions twice. Could have any character from any film or show or meet any Doctor, what would be your dream story? I would love a crossover with, okay, jokingly, I'm going to see Coronation Street. Love Coronation Street. Love the TARDIS to randomly properly turn up on Coronation Street and see what would happen. Serious note, though, I would love a crossover between Doctor Who and Good Omens. I think that'd be funny. The Doctor actually seeing proper angels and demons Not just because it's David Tennant and Michael Sheen, but I think that could be pretty good because Good Omens is pretty much set in normal everyday life. I think that'd be good. Why do I think Doctor Who's lasted for 60 years? I think it's lasted because it's got a very dedicated fan base. It's a show that's constantly keeps evolving and changing. It also it touches on the themes of the times. But does it in a way that's not in your face. I think it's very inclusive and representation, or is now. I know it never used to be. I think it's also a gateway into what history was. I also think it's basically you can write whatever you want for Doctor Who for any Doctor, and it'll be right. So yeah, I think it's very, very good. I think it will last for another 60 years. I hope so. Especially with Bad Wolf and Disney now having stakes in it, I can't see it going anywhere anytime soon. Have I watched or listened to the spin-offs? What do you think of them? Yeah, I watched and listened to some Big Finish studio, Big Finish production spin-offs, Dark Eyes, Once and Future, the anniversary specials as well. I love them. I would love to see them on screen. I know it probably isn't possible. I think they're really good. I just think they need to be more accessible to more people. Big Finish, please do a subscription model like Audible, because your stories are expensive and not accessible to everyone, but you do some really, really good writing and acting in that. And the fact that you get the original actors back is amazing. Sarah Jane Adventures, absolutely loved. I think it was great to see Sarah Jane get her own series. Elizabeth Sladen was taken too soon. I know they had big plans for the series, and it would have been first for a children's TV series. I love that they do link to the main show quite a lot, and it's not just like, oh, it's Sarah Jane, but in her own little world. I love the fact they brought in aliens and former companions and doctors. Torchwood, I loved as well. I know there's been controversy with with John Barrowman. I did love all the characters. Eve Miles as Gwen, especially. It was nice to see, especially in the later series, that a strong female character led her own team. I would love to see the Torchwood team back in the future, led by Gwen. Maybe, or even if Gwen joined Unit, if Torchwood is truly being written out, although there have been more hints. Looking at You, Redacted, I listened to Redacted well. Definitely recommend that. Love the podcast series. That Torchwood is returning. There's very, very strong hints that it's coming back in some way or form. I know they continued the series on Big Finish, but again, it's not accessible and there's some of the more pricey stories. What would I like to see happen in the 60th anniversary specials? I would like to see classic Doctors coming back. I know we've got the Toy Maker. I'm so glad they're bringing Neil Patrick Harris as the Toy Maker. I love the fact it's a classic villain. I think it's going to be very, very emotional. I think that it's not going to be all happy and love. I think Donna could potentially die. I think that the Doctors of the Generation into Ncuti isn't going to be a nice one. I think Ncuti's going to be a lovely Doctor, but I think something terrible is going to happen to cause his regeneration. I think Toy Maker has some hand in the fact that is regenerated into David Tennant's face in the 14th Doctor. I know it's a different Doctor, but I'm pretty sure that they've been teeing this up for a long time, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's some influence by the Toy Maker there. I've seen some brilliant theories of it. There's some brilliant theories that I'm not going to say here, but if they are true, that would be cool. That will pay homage to the 60 years. I love the new Sonic Screwdriver. That is a mash of all the different, most new Who screwdrivers. I would like to see some classic Doctors in there, but maybe I don't know. I would, but I think it wouldn't be as effective because they appeared in Power of the Doctor. Although it would be nice to see the 14th Doctor and Donna paired with a classic companion or a classic Doctor, maybe one Doctor throughout the episode. So I was going to say, it'd be nice to see David Tennant and Joe Grant. That'd be good. But then he's already met her in Sarah Jane Adventures. Or no, let's just the one companion who wasn't in the 60th, which has been teased. Susan, bring Susan back to the 60th. It needs to happen. I love the way the flickering looks like the Tardis is regenerating. Anyway, or materializing. Who'd like to play the Doctor after Ncuti Gatwa? Many, many choices. I think she's going to be here for a while. But personally, I would love to see I think who would I like? I don't know. There's many amazing actors out there. I'd like to see a woman with under Russell T Davies writing. That would be interesting to see a female actor. So I Doctor Who someone who's never seen it before. And what's your favourite bit quote? So my favourite quote is by William Hartnell. Well, I've got many, but the original favourite quote: "One day I shall come back. Yes, one day. There shall be no regrets." That speech to Susan. Doctor Who is an amazing show about a madman in a blue box going many adventures, loads of different companions, saves the world, see loads of different aliens and worlds. Absolutely fantastic. Please watch it. So that's all the questions done. I'm going to talk about briefly experiences. So I've been to loads of Doctor Who experiences, exhibitions, from like with props in Blackpool and where else have I been? Blackpool, Liverpool. There was one. We got to see props. London, Doctor Who experience in London and Cardiff. They were really good. I love seeing the props, but I love the more interactive ones as well, where you're thrown into a storyline, which is why I like the one in Olympia. And where's the other one? There's sort of slightly two different versions of the Doctor Who experience. Cardiff, James. Cardiff. Cardiff one was brilliant because it was a purpose-built building, had loads of props as well. But my all-time favourite one, and I really hope they bring it back, is Time Fracture. I absolutely love Time Fracture. You properly didn't feel like you're just in a show building. You were properly thrown into like an experience where there was time fractures open up all around the world. You had to go save them. You had life-size Daleks chasing after you. You had Cybermen. You had Assassin Ood, Brian the Ood. I'm going to cosplay you at some point because you're just amazing. You had life-size props like Kablam boxes. You had the Sisterhood of Khan. You had multiple different storylines all coinciding at once, which was down to you in a way to influence your own storyline. You had the Tortured Hub. You had River. You had Henry VIII. You had Silence. You had Weeping Angel. Oh, dear God, that Weeping Angel scene. I won't spoil it's in it just in case it comes back. But there are Weeping Angels there, and you don't think it is the Weeping Angels until it's too late. Creepy as hell. Absolutely amazing. I hope Time Fracture does deserve to come back. I know it's cut short because of it flooded and they had to leave the location. Please bring Time Fracture. There's amazing escape rooms. I did one recently with the Cybermen, which was brilliant. With the 13th Doctor, I know there's a Dalek one, which I hope to do next year. That's what made Doctor Who so good. It spins on those different experiences, exhibitions, medium, audio books, stories, comics, toys, Blu-rays, DVDs, etc. It's just an amazing show. So yeah, Lomé, happy birthday, Doctor Who. Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to see more podcasts or documentaries, then follow Beyond Productions on YouTube or Spotify or newly on TikTok. I know. I do other podcasts, disability podcasts as well, Cosplay World Beyond, all about the wonderful world of cosplay, Comic Cons and fandoms. So yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for anyone who's listened to Beyond the TARDIS, to all my guests who've been on the show. There is one more episode, a finale episode coming very, very soon. Hope you have a good rest of your day. Like I said, Beyond Productions, if you would like to follow me and find out all the updates from all my shows and projects going on. Thank you. Bye.